Let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Gemini podcast. I am Dan Mora. Across from me,
Hey everybody, it's Frank Smithson over here.
Frank, how are you today?
Doing good. Had a nice weekend.
Yeah, went mushroom hunting.
I did. Went a little mushroom hunting with my youngest. Sprinkled on us a little bit while we were out there. So it was really nice, peaceful, and quiet. Went to an area where I've never been before. So we saw no other people, which was nice. But the forest isn't very healthy, that's for sure. Just because we got rain this year, all the years of drought, I think not a lot of mushrooms to be found, at least here in Northern California.
Maybe later in the year after they've gotten all this moisture, they'll be happier.
Yeah, they have, it's kind of like flowers. There's different mushrooms that come out in different seasons. So I was looking for some porcini mushrooms I was hoping to find.
Oh.
Some kind of other bullet, which is like a big, meaty mushroom without gills. It's got pores instead of gills.
Oh. All edible?
All edible, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. We didn't find anything, though. We found like 3 mushrooms and 1 slime mold, which is kind of like it's like a jello that grows off a rock. It looks kind of gross.
Okay. Well, today we're going to continue the fun topic of AI. Man, this couldn't be hotter topic for us. I mean, we love tech, so this is fun, but in some legal ramifications, we read an article. It was out by Reuters, and go ahead. Why don't you relay that?
Okay. Well, first, let me paint the stage. AI, it's big for us because we love tech, but it's really big for the world right now with the introduction of GPT-4. It's making huge impacts. I know personally I'm using it myself. But what are those ramifications long term of this type of technology? And the big buzz over this past weekend was Musk, along with like 1,000 other high-ranking people in the business world, signed a letter to the government asking for a pause on AI for 6 months.
The development
of anything that is more powerful than GPT-4, which obviously that's hard to maybe wrap your head around in itself. What does more powerful mean? The idea that they're talking about is really more for humanity and kind of the scare of Skynet, Ultron type of takeover type of things.
Yeah.
And
apocalyptic scenarios.
Yeah. And so I was kind of just reflecting on this idea of, the larger system of AI. Well, how does it relate to workers' compensation? And I was thinking, man, I kind of feel like we need something similar to come from the applicant attorney side right now, because the defense, they got at least 5 years of development in AI. And from what I can tell on the applicant side, I don't think there's technologies that have been out there. If there are, I'm not aware of them, and I'd love some comments letting us know otherwise, so we could look into those things.
We did find one, right? This was fun, right? Justine Falcon.
Sure. Yes. So let me finish this train of thought. So the idea here is, with that letter, why can't we do something similar and just localize it down to workers' compensation? Like, should we have a pause in workers' compensation? And I'd be looking again for comments. Yeah, Justine Falcon. Well, what's up with her?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, kind of what I thought was interesting, I'm kind of looking for a more tangible threat that this letter, this Elon Musk letter, I hate to call it the Elon Musk letter. He was just one signer on it. But this letter, what were the threats that they were quoting? Do you recall? I looked at something and it said, let's see. Should we let machines flood our information channels with propaganda and untruth? Should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, obsolete, and replace us? Should we risk loss of control of our civilization? One of the
And such decisions must not be delegated to unelected tech leaders. So that's why they're asking for that pause to come from government, essentially.
Yeah, so I understand like the concern about this influencing, most likely the most influential. But somebody also commented, and I thought this was good, that, and this is her quote, is prioritizing imagined apocalyptic scenarios over more immediate concerns about AI, such as racist or sexist biases being programmed into the machines.
Yeah, that's happening right now. If we just think of it on a work comp level, there's got to be biases built into the system. Like, it's impossible to not do that, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a company called Gradient AI that's working with claims management in workers' compensation, and they are suggesting that they have better recall capacity, and machine learning can make more informed decisions. Mm-hmm. So they talk about, what does that look like from a
claims perspective?
A claims perspective. Seasons adjuster without AI, knowledge of a single claims professional. The Gradient AI's machine learning solution is equivalent to knowledge of 25,000 claims professionals.
Wow.
Then they have, a seasons adjuster without AI, 10 to 15 features, inputs, limited variety, constrained capacity. So they're talking about, with all of your experience that you've got, like, what can you actually do when you're looking through the information to try to make decisions? Mm-hmm. And then they're suggesting that the Gradient AI's machine learning solution, 70 to 80 plus features or inputs. So it's just like, I don't know, it's like a chessboard with like 10 times more players. I don't know.
So this single claims administrator maybe with very, very experienced, may have managed 5,000 to 6,000 claims. And the AI bot has the equivalent of 30 plus million claims of knowledge.
That's crazy. So all of that is just retained and instantly available. Mm-hmm. Even if someone managed 5,000 to 6,000 claims in their life.
That's 40 years of experience is what this graphic is saying.
Yeah, like, it's not like you're recalling all of that information either. So you're only getting bits and pieces of it. And what was the most relevant stuff is probably what's like stuck in your mind, as opposed to having 100% of the availability of that information from a machine.
Yeah.
40 plus years of experience. Yep. And then access to unlimited data. It just keeps growing, right?
So there was another story of that they tested on passing the bar.
Yeah. Was this Forbes? Oh, that was Reuters. That was the Reuters document. Let me look that up real quick.
In a simulation of the bar exam required of U.S. law school graduates before professional practice, the new model scored around the top 10% of test takers versus the older model ranking around the bottom 10%, OpenAI said.
Yeah. This thing is smart. And they were going through and they were kind of highlighting, got 76% of the bar exams multiple choice questions right.
Wow.
But additionally, it's essay type questions it's doing well on as well. It's not only doing the bar, they did it for the the SAT and the GRE, but of course the bar exam's getting more attention,
right?
Which makes total sense. So I guess in part of this letter, one of the things that we're looking at is the human capital, right? If AI comes in and just destroys all these jobs, we don't have the legislation to be ready for that. The type of impact that it can have on the economies, that's more realistic in the near term as opposed to, Skynet type things. And it's pretty real.
Well, the bias is for sure real. That is scary. I think of my kids where do they get all of their information from? The internet, of course. Mm-hmm. Are we the last generation that really took multiple inputs, including the internet, and able to assimilate all of that into a version of truth and trust as opposed to our kids. Like my kids don't really believe me half the time until they check the internet.
And even when people check the internet, what does that really mean? Like, people doing research, they typically are looking at taglines and making decisions and discussions based off of other people's opinions that actually did the work. So I would say go out there and actually read the information.
Well, yeah, that's the bottom line. I mean, geez, people need to wake up and just not believe the first thing that they read.
But with the ability to do that less and less, like need to read, it's kind of the direction we're going, and that's what AI is doing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Justine Falcon earlier. So what is she?
So super. I mean, you brought up this article. I was like, no way. So when was
This was 2 years ago. Orbai, ORBAI, used this legal AI platform, which is codenamed Justine Falcon, to mine data from the California Superior Court website, which holds records of civil, criminal, and family law cases in California. And then she has this function called Law Stats 101. It's a skill that she can apply machine learning to search a given name, find all cases for that name, and pull them in PDF form. Mm-hmm. And so using that skill, Justine went through all these cases that were filed by district attorney prosecutors looking for cases that are similar to the lead case in a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. The software then created a list of those cases, as well as a list of the top 20 DA attorneys that prosecuted most of them. The list of DA prosecutors and lists of their similar cases were used as an exhibit in the class certification section of the lawsuit filing. So you have this lead case. AI found they said 40 other cases. So it says this can take a team of lawyers and paralegals months of labor and big class action certification, but Justine Falcon was able to fully automate the filing with AI and do it in a few hours.
That's insane.
With just a few modifications. And then here's the quote from the CEO of Orbai. This is a very focused application where AI has great commercial value in law, as it transforms a $4 million lead lawsuit into a $400 million class action lawsuit. It says Law Stats 101 can also mine case statistics from any attorney or law firm to pull data from their past cases that can be an exhibit in filing to show the prevalence of certain trends. So you basically have an awesome research person working for you that's just as good as any attorney and can even pass the bar. Might have got a better score than you.
Justine has a LinkedIn profile too, just FYI, if people want to check it out. Justine Falcon, legal AI at Orbai. Yeah. And about, it says, hi, I'm Justine Falcon, and I am a legal artificial intelligence. She's a third on mine, so like I know a couple of people she knows.
Okay.
By the way,
gotcha.
That's interesting, yeah.
I wonder if any of our attorneys that were working with us are using this system. So it says, in addition to Law Stats 101, which I'd be curious of what that actually does, Justine Falcon has skills to do verbal client interviews.
Wow.
And generate the appropriate document, translate and format large client documents to legal language, look up legal citations with different corpus of law, and most importantly, the platform has a predictor skill that can train on the case files of a given attorney and learn to predict what they will do next, which is very handy in litigation.
Yeah.
And it was beta tested in, looks like late 2020s.
Justine, she identifies as a woman, right?
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it said, right, in that article.
That's scary in its own right. Why are we trying to humanize this AI stuff so much?
She has 8 cases that she assisted in authoring and e-filing for litigation. Wow. Listed on her LinkedIn profile. Yeah. I think the angle here is super interesting. I think that insurance companies managing claims, I mean, we're talking about jobs, and I pulled up one metric that said that as it could displace roughly 15% of workers, or 400 million people worldwide between 2016 and 2030. Obviously, that was written maybe in a while ago, and this is a McKinsey study, and it could rise as much as 30%. That's pretty interesting. I think when it comes to the angle in legal, what I see kind of happening is the insurance companies managing claims are just going to become very difficult to deal with. The cost of adjudicating against an insurance company is going to go up. And the attorneys, I mean, I'm curious and concerned about attorneys passing the bar and practicing law with AI, but what choice do they have when they're up against?
They got to compete against it.
Right.
I kind of think of it as like, like an arms race.
Yeah, and I see what practically is going to probably happen in the courtroom is the amount of information that is delivered to judges is going to be, exponential. Judges being overwhelmed, and if anybody's listening to this that actually has the power to hire more judges and put more staff into the courts, maybe take this as a warning. I would say, you think about you've heard, or maybe you guys have all heard of papering a file. And that's where you're just throwing evidence. You just find as much evidence as you can. You throw it into the case, and you're trying to overwhelm the other side with having to respond to all of that paperwork, right? So that has implications on both sides of the case that are at the disadvantage of not using AI or doesn't have the background or experience to be dealing with that. But again, the judge is dealing with all of this is kind of...
I mean, the judge is probably going to end up using AI as well to manage it.
Yeah, how is that going to look?
So, basically, what we're communicating is AI getting in every single aspect of the law. Like, at what point are humans not doing anything but turning the AI switch on? Because what else are they going to do? I can't read all of this documentation. Switch on AI. Oh, it spits out the answers for me. And then I take that and I just go communicate it.
And, I go back to where we started. Are we the last generation that has this input plus what we learned growing up through school? The internet, I remember the internet in 1995, and it was for science. There was websites, right, that had science research. Very few, very, very, very few. So we had libraries, we had people with wisdom, whatever the case may be. Now we have the internet, and we're like, "Ooh, this is great." But we know, I think, the difference and how we are approaching. I hope that the judges and I hope that the chief judges are being careful of this, and our legislature is.
Any one individual is not going to make an impact. That's the whole idea behind this letter, right? Is that we need government to get ahead of it. And traditionally, it doesn't work that way. Things come into fruition, and then the government sees the negative impact, and then there's reactionary. Like the proactive nature of government, I think, is almost non-existent, right?
No, I wouldn't say that's true, but whether they get ahead of it,
let's just say
or
it's super slow. Even if they are trying to be proactive, the speed at which the government can run, it's not. I mean, AI is already here, so it is reactive no matter what.
Yeah, right. I think if I'm to impart anything onto our viewers, like we should personally be careful about what we're ingesting and how we're judging the world around us, for sure. I think too, what is coming, if I'm trying to get ahead of it as just a human, is that data. This is the culmination of data as a commodity, data being leveraged to huge effect. What I think is next, the next commodity is going to be truth and trust. And how do you measure that? That to me is the next.
What is it? It's so eroded already.
Yeah. Well, it's always the judges and leaders in our world that are guiding us to some degree. So if, I don't know, a newscaster A is more trustworthy, we should be listening to that person.
How do you make that? How do you make that determination?
Yeah, that's a great
because I
question.
believe it. That's how it happens now.
Well, it's how it's happened forever. It's because I believe
Sure,
it. You know?
sure.
So that doesn't really change. I think we just all got to be careful. Yeah.
Is there any kind of action that you think is needed from the applicant side of things to slow this down or to jump on it? Like, what do you think that future looks like?
I think overfunding the WCAB in our industry, the court, giving the judges the tools that they need to discern truth from non-truth. And that's what I would advocate for heavily.
So
genie's out of the box. So the judges are in a terrible situation where they're going to have to sort through all this noise.
So we're kind of talking about AI from this like negative perspective today, but if you think about it from the positive perspective, those same like numbers I quoted, either like one person with 40 years experience versus 30 million, right?
It's the jobs. How do you put a positive spin on the job loss?
Well, hold on. I'm not talking about the job loss piece.
Okay.
I'm talking about the ability to get through this work comp system and get people help and the money that they need, right? So we can make that really fast, and you can apply AI on the doctor side too, and you can understand a person's injury a lot faster with all of the convolution and the way that documentation needs to be written. So there's a lot of benefits that can come.
Yeah.
What we need is Star Trek is what we need, right?
No, our next topic, UBI.
UBI?
Universal Basic Income.
Yes, and that's could be one of the ways to solve this, which is Star Trek. Don't they have like some type of everybody's equal type thing? Way to go, you socialist.
Well, yeah, that's opening a can of worms. We should definitely talk about that later. All right, Frank, we should close this topic. It's been a pleasure. Good talking to you.
Definitely. Like, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Tell us what you think about this.
Comments.
Comics, all that fun stuff.
Sweet.
All right, thanks man.